agenda item.
Can somebody talking?
I looked at the minutes too. What was the workshop I was doing the 22nd? It was one topic. Huh? Yes. Oh, the hand, Webster hand. Thank you. Okay. That's where I was going. I knew it was one thing. June 22nd. A hand. All right. Okay, I think we are ready to go. You ready, Karen? All right, let's bring the July 6, 2023 Webster Board meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ellen, can you roll, please?
Supervisor Terry?
Here.
Councilman Abbott?
Here.
Councilwoman Capelli? Present. Councilman Cahill?
Here.
Councilwoman Wynn? Town Attorney Janeski?
Present.
Okay, first up tonight is open to the floor, and each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. And we have a new mechanism, I guess I'll call it. We tested it out at the June 8th public meeting at Webster Thomas regarding EMS ambulance in Webster. And you'll see it up on the podium. It is a contraption that gives you a green light when you hit the button. And you got your 5 minutes. And when you get down to 30 seconds, it'll start flashing yellow. And then when you hit 5 minutes, it will go red. And that tells you that you're all done. This is better than me having to remind you. So, you can't, this is, I think, apropos that the first person at a regular board meeting that is going to be testing it out based on the sign-in is the Honorable Ron Nesbitt, past supervisor of the town of Webster. So Ron, you just hit the number 1 on top.
Okay. One I'm right?
You got it.
Okay. On the agenda tonight, number 17.
You did it again, Ron?
Sure. Okay. I had it.
Karen?
One and two.
One and two. Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay. On the agenda tonight, number 17 states that the town board wants to increase the wastewater bond from $44,340,000 to $90 million. First off, Webster citizens have not been given an ounce of detailed information on this topic. We have not seen a signed, legal, binding contract passed by this town board for Fairlight to spend any money on any sewer construction whatsoever pertaining to them. Where is this contract? Town board members, have you seen a contract? Ms. Wynn, have you seen a contract? Mrs. Cataldi, have you seen a contract? Because the citizens of Webster haven't seen one. In the resolution tonight, it states, the town has learned that due to increases in certain project and construction-related costs, the estimated maximum cost of the project was increased from $44,340 to $90 million. And in connection therewith, the amount of bonds or bond anticipation notes to be issued shall need to increase from 44.3 to 9, and all further description in the amended engineering report. Nowhere in tonight's resolution does it mention Fairlight at all. Not one word. It states amended engineer report. When was this filed with the town clerk, I asked? When was it discussed publicly with the town residents or town board? Why the secret here, Mr. Flaherty? Supervisor Flaherty in his column said that the increase in sewer rate for town residents outside the village would go up $70 per year, but I think your math doesn't work out, Supervisor. There are 15,624 town users. At $70 would bring in $1,093,000 per year over 20 years, which would be $21,860,000. Where is the other $24,140,000 coming from, Mr. Supervisor? Because it's not nearly enough to cover the $46 million increase you want tonight. It's all smoke and mirrors, Supervisor Flaherty, and you have yet to prove to Webster residents the need for these funds with legal documentation. And to the other town board members, don't vote for this incomplete explanation from Supervisor Flaherty until you can cover the $90 million with concrete legal documents. When you add this $46 million, this means this town board will have spent $90 million on sewer, $12 million on sandbar, $28 on highway, which adds up to $130 million Webster residents will be in debt for the next 30 years. That's really something to run on this November, spending $130 million to put our children in debt for years to come. Supervisor Flaherty states that momentum builds momentum, which to me is a catchphrase to spend more Webster taxpayer dollars. Also, he's going to get more grants. All his projects include getting more grants, and he hasn't succeeded half the time in getting these funds. Also, the supervisor failed Webster residents in not getting a host agreement that insured Webster 100% taxes on Fairlight and their $645 million plan. That would have meant $335,000 a year in tax revenue to the town, but Supervisor Flaherty is willing to take 10% of that as he builds on his momentum. And at this time, he doesn't have or can the town board provide to the Webster residents a document showing how much Webster tax dollars will receive. On another topic tonight, number 9, says, whereas on November 3rd, the town board by resolution number 318 awarded the construction contract to campus construction for not to exceed $98,545. But yet, you're going to amend a contract you already signed for another $1 million tonight. You must think we had trees in Webster that grow dollar bills, because you people are certainly spending a lot of Webster taxpayer dollars. In fact, let me say, I think you're worse than Joe Biden.
Josh, can you turn that off, or Aaron, turn it off? Well, I gotta say, that was one of your best.
Point on.
Fantastic.
Point on. Give us the facts.
And our next person up tonight is Jen Pensy. Josh, can you see if it says 5 minutes on top of that to make sure when Jen hits 1 and then 2, it starts?
Whose game did you take this from?
True.
I'll tell you, you can find something like this on the website. You can just throw it up here really quick and it'll count down. It's like monkeys dancing, whatever you want. There's a lot of cool things you can do for 5 minutes. So let me get started.
Okay.
Yep, it's my time's going. So.
Okay, we'll give you 5, 10.
No
Go ahead,
problem.
Jen.
I'm good. So I'm going to be short tonight. I won't. I'm just here to make our town board, as well as our supervisor and our neighbors here in Webster, aware of a few things that our community was made aware of last week. And this is happening right now. We brought it to the attention. We wrote our supervisors. We talked with our county legislators. We contacted Adam Bello, the sheriff's department, etc. we received reliable information of criminal, illegal aliens coming into our community, into our county on the 4th of July. No estimate of how many, but we do know what hotels that they were being dropped off at, and we do know that they were all going to be men. We did sound the alert because this is reliable information, and this is what we heard. Crickets. Not one person responded back to us. We took it to candidates. We took it to everybody. We do know the Monroe County legislator committees did meet. It was talked about, and this is what we got. Following up with this, we did get a report. It was confirmed. Not as many came into our community on the 4th of July. They did send one bus to the Holiday Inn Express in Irondequoit and drop them off there. Again, we did the research because we are concerned about our community. We do know that Adam Bello on May 23rd, knowing that with Title 42 being disposed of, that we were going to get more illegals crossing the border and that they were going to be sent up here. We do know that they're being sent to New York City. From New York City, they're being put in hotels, they're being overrun there. They are then, through Catholic Charities, being sent to Utica, and from Utica, they are now being sent out into our communities. I want us to get ahead of the 8 ball here for Webster. We want to be transparent. In the EO that Adam Bello did put out, stated that they would have to go into a housing contract if they were going to put them into local hotels, and especially hotels that are not extended stays. This is our taxpayer money. We are receiving people who are going to receive social services, they're going to need food, they're going to need clothing, they're going to need everything. And I fully understand what you might not know about me. I lived for 16 years in Honduras. My husband was Honduran. We left Honduras for the same reason that many people are leaving their countries today, because of crime and the international cartels that are in these countries. We came for our safety. And now, 20 years later, 22 years later, I don't feel safe in my own community again. Knowing that these criminals, because I understand who they are, I've had guns pointed to my head. I had to raise the wall with electric wire on my property down in Honduras. I had security, I had bodyguards. I actually, before I left, we had to have SWAT teams because my father-in-law was the head of national security trying to clean up these criminals. So I know what type of people, I'm not saying that these people are coming in and they're coming to Rochester, but I do know what criminals from Central America, what we're talking about. And I just want to keep our community safe, especially in the last couple of weeks, end of June, when we are having our own issues with the teenagers, again, near my neighborhood, stealing cars, crashing them, etc. We're out of control. And what I don't want to see is, or hear, are crickets. What can you do? Other communities have done TROs. That's what we need to do. We need to work with other communities. We need to work with Irondequoit. Another community is Chi-Life is also being targeted. We do believe that at this point they may be moving them out because we are starting to talk about it. We are starting to do our own work about this, but we need your help. So I'm just here to appeal to you as the supervisor, as the town board. What can you do to work with our community? Keep us safe. Do you know what's happening? Do you know if our hotels have been contacted? That's where we need to start. Thank you.
So, a quick question.
Yeah, and can you stay up there for 1 second? I think I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, I got that alert through Telegram also, and I shared it with the supervisor. He hadn't heard anything. So I'm glad that you did confirm in fact that one bus load was dropped off in Irondequoit at Holiday Inn. What do you know? Because I know that Adam Bello, a couple months ago I think it was, issued a state of emergency to address this very thing. So I'm curious as to why when you talked to his office and the county legislatures, why there was no response. and what impact, if any, this declaration of emergency has on us.
So from what we do know was that the emergency order that was dated, I believe, May 23rd, did expire. We have been trying, and our county legislators have been trying to determine and get confirmation that Adam Bello has been renewing that emergency order as it expires. But again, we're hearing crickets.
Okay,
And it's not on the website either.
yeah. And Councilman Kale, thank you, that you didn't go the way I thought you were gonna go, but I'm glad you asked that. But I'm gonna ask a simpler question on this one, because you used the term crickets twice. And for people in the audience and are watching at home live, or if they're watching this on tape, a rational, reasonable person would think that you mean that you reached out to these 5 board members and we didn't respond to you. Did you reach out to any of our 5 board members?
No, I reached out to some of your
I have
board
no other
members.
questions. I have no other questions. Thank you.
No
All
problem.
right, I just want for the record, you know, and it was one of my favorite lines. We'll get into it later with some other stuff that happened. Like, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And I want to make sure when you intimate crickets, you didn't get crickets from the
So let me-
leadership of the town of Webster.
No, I
Thank you.
said supervisors, I mentioned Adam Bello, I mentioned county legislators, I mentioned other
Yeah.
candidates. I didn't mention town boards.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, Melissa, unless your friend also is signing up, or Melissa? Michelle, is your friend going to also want to speak tonight? You do not?
I could say a lot, but I'm not.
Well, by all means, take advantage of democracy in the 5 minutes. You should say a lot.
Podium.
All right, you want to give it another shot there, Josh? And this is our test. Does it say 5 minutes? And it's got to hit 1 and 2 to get it going.
I'm so glad this is you and that.
I know it's all worth its money. That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's worth it all.
Dead battery.
If you want to warn me,
You
I have no
know,
problem.
you said I relish it, so Josh, get it off there. We'll talk to Karen. It's work in progress. I still like the concept of me not having to warn. But Michelle, I think you think I relish warning you, and I think you might like when I warn you. So let's do it the old-fashioned way.
Sure.
Shoot
I
it.
want to second some of the things that Jen said, and particularly about the car thefts in the shopping areas here in Webster. And I don't really know what the motivation is. I have heard through some friends that are out of state in law enforcement and others that this car theft thing is a rite of passage. And the reason that these kids are underage is because they know they can't be arrested. So I'm hoping, and I'm not quite sure how it could be done, but the judges have to be enabled to arrest these people. And I don't care if they're 12. They need to be arrested, because what's going to happen eventually is somebody's going to defend their property or themselves, and someone's going to be hurt or killed. And the person who is defending themselves is going to end up in jail like it's magic and be called a racist because they tried to save their own life. And it isn't hyperbole. This is here now. This has been coming for a long time. And I'm not saying you're ignoring it, but if we're doing Webster-centric stuff, one of the biggest things that the board has to do is provide a safe community for everyone to live in. And I do not feel safe. My neighbors do not feel safe. And I don't understand why. I know we have a police department. I know they're doing their very best. But I think on some level their hands are tied as well. And it shouldn't happen. I don't want to hurt anybody. And I think everybody in this room would defend themselves or their property and their home or their children if they had to. And I would support that. So I'm asking, please, engage us. If we can write to the judges and say, listen, you know, you live in this community, you have rulings that you can stop the nonsense. They have to be put in jail. They have to be processed. Thank you.
I don't think anybody can disagree with what she
No,
just
and
said.
when you speak of hands tied, the judge's hands are tied due to bail reform, and sheriffs across the state, and judges across the state have written to the mayor, or to the governor and legislature to do something about this. Even legislators in Albany have begged the governor to do something regarding these bail reform laws. And this cycle will continue. It's not going to change,
Oh, it's going
in
to
my
get
opinion,
worse.
until bail reform is changed. And the governor's just making it easier.
I agree.
And it's a travesty, and we're seeing it play out before our very eyes. And your point that you made regarding, somebody defending their home or their house or their vehicle in this instance, it will happen, okay? We know it's going to happen. And you are 100% right that the likelihood is that the person that defends their vehicle using lethal force will end up in jail. So the only thing I would encourage you, if someone's trying to take your car, just give them the keys.
Oh, yeah.
Just give them the keys.
Thanks, Michelle. You sure?
I'm sure.
We're saving her, she's our secret one.
All right. All right, well, next up tonight, we have 3 sets of board meeting minutes to consider for approval. I gotta say, between Karen Buck and Dolly McGuire, I think the combination of that effort, the June 8th special public meeting on EMS ambulance in Webster, there are 25 pages of minutes from that meeting. 2 hours long, videos out there. I think you guys did a wonderful job, really almost word for word encapsulating questions and responses. I make a motion that we approve the June 8th, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Abbott?
Now, the June 15th regular board meeting minutes were 25 pages, but you didn't answer those 2, and I make a motion that we approve those.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
And last but not least, the June 22nd workshop on the West Webster Hamlet update. I make a motion we approve those minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
All right, Jenny, it was you today, or this week on bills, right?
Yes, sir. Okay, I looked at those and just looked at everything seemed to be fine. I make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. I reviewed the prepaid warrants submitted by Paul Evans, our Director of Finance, and make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
And then I also approve, make a motion to approve the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Evans, Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
This next one is kind of a housekeeping item that's done periodically when, I think it is, and I think, Paul, is this more for you to explain or Brady?
This has to do with the New York State retirement system for elected and appointed officials. They need to do a time study. For the elected officials, it's each time they're elected. And based on that time study, it determines how many days they get credit for within the New York State retirement system, assuming they're members of the retirement system. So this is a resolution to basically approve the calculations which will be used in reporting time to the retirement system.
Okay.
I would move that we adopt the 2023 standard workday reporting resolution for elected and appointed officials as presented.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli? Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. All right. Paul, this is you, right? And we just kind of putting a ribbon around the audit, right?
Yes, received the audit report think 3 or 4 weeks ago. And just to make it official, we'd like to pass a resolution in support of it.
And thank you for providing
Yeah.
that to all the board members. Appreciate it.
Very correct.
All right, I make a motion to authorize the town clerk to give public notice of the availability of the town of Webster's New York State annual financial report and audited financial statements as filed in the town clerk's office for the fiscal year ended 12/31/22.
Second?
Supervisor Clary?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Vitale?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Patrick,
Sir.
what happened?
A weird set of circumstances, but what ultimately happened on this was all of the bids we got were incomplete. They were missing something one way or another. So we're rejecting them all. This is an update on the item as far as the purchase. During the time of bidding, this particular item went on a purchasing, national purchasing agreement that we use by municipalities called Sourcewell. So we'll actually be procuring this piece of equipment through the Sourcewell program, which allows it's like a negotiated national contract that ensures the value is acceptable for municipalities. And by purchasing through that, instead of all the bids that we had to reject, we're actually going to save about $4,000. So
I would move that we reject all bids received on May 11, 2023 for the new mini hydraulic excavator for the highway department. Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Vitale?
Aye.
Supervisor Clary?
Aye. I'm really not sure if this is Josh, or Pat, or Mary, or Paul.
Yeah, I could speak to it. So this next resolution is to enter into a service contract with Concord Electric to have them available to repair streetlights within several of the town's lighting districts. The previous vendor that we had used has retired, so as streetlights have been needing to be replaced, we've historically been going out and just getting quotes for that particular outage. This will have us in a 5-year service agreement so that in the future, any streetlights that get burnt out and need to be replaced, we can more quickly address it by contacting them. And it is an hourly rate based on the amount of work that is done. The contract is good for 5 years. And ultimately, whatever expense is incurred to replace the streetlights, it does get ultimately charged back to the residents within that lighting district.
Thanks, Josh. I would move we authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Concord Electric for future repair of street lights within the town's lighting district.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Vitale?
Aye.
Supervisor Clary?
Aye. Yeah, I was almost hoping that Michael would show up tonight for the next one.
I went to school next year.
Did you really?
With 8 months short.
Oh.
I don't know if this is the same one or not.
Josh, I know you have been very high on Michael since he joined the zoning board as an alternate. And
Yes, he's been very impressive as an alternate, and it turns out that there's now a full-time opening for a regular board member. And he has over 20 years of experience as an architect. I think he will serve the board very well.
any questions by the board on this gentleman?
I would move to appoint Michael Short to the zoning board of appeals to fulfill the unexpired term of Griff Steffenbeck ending December 31st, 2025.
Councilwoman Vitale?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott? Supervisor Clary?
Aye. The next two, I guess, Paul, Mary, Pat, probably should take track of this, and also Councilman Abbott, because he is the liaison to the highway department and has been really instrumental in this whole process with the new highway garage. That the most recent milestone was in late February when we bonded it for $28 million. And along those lines, I just want to preface this by saying that one of the speakers tonight, one of my favorite lines, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. So we had a good story tonight. It was an entertaining story that we're amending a $98,000 contract with campus construction to $1 million, and that the board must think the town is a bunch of idiots. Can you basically give the facts behind that instead of the good story we heard?
I will try. Yeah, so both of these amendments are in our area. Like I said, we've all worked on it, worked really hard to keep the cost on this project down. This is actually a good example of that, despite the high dollar value. So what was amended in both these contracts with campus and our MRB is not just the dollar amount, it was the scope. So initially we had a scope of services that took us through bid time, and then we had to procure the scope of services from bid time to the end of construction. So what was amended was an additional scope of services to take us from the bid to the end of construction, and that had a cost associated with it. So the entire contract was amended, scope and dollar, side by side. So dollar values were put in the budget that was developed for the bonding resolution originally. So these items were estimated at a certain amount. After working closely with MRB and campus together to make sure that the scopes didn't overlap or anything, these values represent running under budget on those items. So a certain amount was accounted for in the $28 million bonding resolution. These dollar amounts are actually less for the scope of services than was accounted for in the budget, to the tune of about $300,000 less
Yes.
than
So,
the budget.
just from a layman term explanation, and you did a great job, don't get me wrong, but the one thing that I've learned in the last 3.5 years, and I've had help from everybody here on getting educated on how this works, and actually, Councilman Abbott is one of been the biggest help because he's been in engineering and municipal projects and all that, is that there's construction managers and there's engineering firms that are hired for the design phase. And that's what we did as a contract for campus construction, $98,000 for the design phase. Now, once we break ground and we're building the thing, the construction management part of the job becomes exponentially more involved, and we could have done a second contract with campus for that portion. We just amended the one and added the duties for construction management to go from $98,000 to $1 million. Now, I don't expect citizens, because I 3.5 years ago was a citizen, to understand that, but when somebody has been in government for 26 years and oversaw a bunch of this, they know darn well that that's how it works. So I'm not really appreciative of somebody getting up and telling a story to rabble-rouse when the facts are the exact opposite of that. And I'm going to end by saying that in the totality of this, the total of, we'll call these soft costs, engineering, construction management, this and that, pertaining to MRB and campus, what we estimated these to be when we bonded back in February, the actual contracts were negotiated, and I know, Bill, you were very instrumental on that, as Pat said, to be actually $300,000 in aggregate less. Those are facts, and those are the facts that the citizens of this town need to understand, not stories told at the podium that are meant to rabble-rouse and engage. So we can move on with now these resolutions.
Now resolved to increase the campus construction consultant services contract, allow the supervisor to sign the amendment in the amount of $1,048,000 for construction management services during the construction phase of the highway facility project.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Batali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Cleary?
Aye.
And I would move to increase MRB's consultant services contract and allow the supervisor to sign an amendment in the amount of $706,680 for construction administration services during the construction phase of the highway facility project.
Second.
Councilwoman Batali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Cleary?
Aye. And before we move on, I just want to, I've been known to beat a horse dead, as my 7 kids say sometimes, but okay. I can't thank the team on the highway project, that is a team. Everybody here, Bill, Pat, all of them. They are already showing that what we bonded it for, we're starting to already get actual results that are coming in less. And that makes the accountant and me feel good. Because I think we all hear about these municipal projects that start out at X and then, whatever, they end up being 2X. I don't understand that. I don't understand, thank you, the big dig out in Boston. That should never happen. And I think we have a management and a leadership team that is really on top of this stuff. And I would much rather have us bond projects where we're being conservative and we can then, from the budget to actual, be able to report back to the citizens that we have done better than what we estimated. Because I think most people, rational people, like that better than getting BS from their leaders of coming back later and say it's going to cost a lot more money. And with that being said, I had an update meeting down at Sandbar Park today with the team in a construction trailer. There was about 20 of us. It was air conditioned, thank God. And I'm happy to say that that project is running ahead of schedule and under budget for what we bonded. Is that correct, Mary and Pat?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. And that's what this management and leadership team is emboldened to do for the citizens. Those are facts. That's not a good story. Those are facts. I'll jump off that dead horse now, Charlie.
Excuse me, I have a question and I know it's totally out of line, and I'm sure you are.
Well, at least you know what's out of line.
Well, I'm gonna ask. I'm sure at some point you inform the public of these changes and hey, guess what, this happened, so this is less and maybe this is more. And if you're doing that, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Michelle, I'm so glad you're coming to these meetings because like we said in the parking lot, you've been a frequent flyer at them. Keep coming to them, Christmas cards.
Well,
I know Paul Adams and I are trying to put together something that's kind of a report card
Good.
that's consistent at the, either halfway through the year, end of the year to say, hey, here's the projects that are going on. This is where we started, this is what's happened, kind of give a reconciliation. That is something that just is just the right thing to do for the citizens.
Well, then it can't be
Right thing to
contested.
do if it ends up being more, right thing to do if it ends up being less.
I agree.
I feel pretty confident in the projects we go on that there'll be less. In fact, that's phase 1 of the sewer plant, $12 million. I think it's done now, under budget?
We're just about done it, but it will come under budget. Absolutely.
Yep,
So we need to know
Okay.
that. That's good.
that's great. That's what,
It is quite
we're just lucky, right? Yeah. Lucky.
For municipal projects to come in under budget is very unique. And I think this team can attest to it.
John, it's not unique when you have talented people on
Well,
the
you're
team
right.
that are all pulling the weight and basically making hard decisions and treating people with respect from day one instead of pandering to people. Then you get projects that are estimated low, and then it's like, well, down the line when it gets higher, we'll figure out some way to sell it to the community.
Change order.
That's not what this leadership and this board and these department heads are about. All right, what do you think, Charlie? Get off the horse now?
We're on number 11.
I didn't ask you, Bill, but thanks, Charlie. Bill? All right. I think this is you, Rick.
It is. So this pertains to obtaining the services of Barton Judas Engineering to provide grant application services for the wastewater treatment plant. That really gives us an opportunity towards tens of millions of dollars of grants. We chose Barton Judas. They have been the engineer of record for phase 1. They're the engineer of record for phase 2. They know our facility better than anybody. So it just made perfect sense to go with them. They've submitted grants for us for the plans in the past as well.
And just before somebody makes a motion on this one, if somebody decides to, and you'll hear a lot about this in the next 3 weeks, the CFA New York State deadline for submitting applications for grants this year is July 28th, Friday, July 28th. The main grant that is kind of tied to a wastewater facility is the WIA grant through the DFC, or is that what it is? Too many acronyms ago. That's the one that Barton and Judas really is focusing their main time on.
Correct, but there will be other ones as well.
Understood.
That is the big.
But we have 22 days from now, if we put together a package that has got the best we can put together, which is not luck, that's skill and talent and teamwork, we will submit that, and we should know then, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months, when Leah makes the decision on grant awards.
Correct.
Thank you.
I make a motion for the supervisor to sign a professional services agreement with Barton and Judas Engineering to provide grant application services for the town of Webster wastewater pollution control facility improvements project.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. The next two, Charlie? Art?
Well, we've been working on these for quite a while,
Quite a while.
and supervisors have been involved as well, so. Well, we've got two intermunicipal agreements involving the village of Webster, and one involves the sampling point, and the other is for the general. So I don't know if Art, if you want to, or Rick wants to go into.
I can touch on number 12, the sampling point. Currently, the village obviously has a wastewater plant, as does the town. They are under our speedies permit, New York State DEC speedies permit, and we have a combined outfall, both of our treated effluents combined where we sample from. Because the village is now going to go for their own permit, we would have to separate those sample points, which causes us to pull back and have to do some construction and excavation and design for a new sample point. So that's what this IMA is called.
Could you explain what a speedies permit is? Because
It's our discharge permit. It's what allows us to send treated effluent out to the receiving waters, which is like monitored by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and EPA.
And that's required.
That's required. Yeah. So they're going to be going for their own permit now, and that means we have to separate our sample points.
And Art, not that, I know you guys were involved with this with Jake Swingley, the DPW commissioner. Charlie, you were involved with Don White, the village attorney, and I was involved with the mayor. And just once again, layman terms, especially since we have, I know at least one village resident here. 25 months ago, right around now, the village board of trustees voted 3-2 to opt not to pursue regionalization and combining with the town on a regional sewer plant. And that action created the reactions, one of them being they're on their own, and so they have to get their own speedies permit, because for 40 years they've been basically operating under our town speedies permit. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense for the town, liability-wise and all of that. So I hope that explains here we are, why we're doing these IMAs, because their sewer plant and ours does have a combined pipe out into the lake.
And the village has already approved these items.
Yeah,
But
right,
both
yeah.
of them, each of them have been approved by the village board of trustees.
So I would move to authorize the town supervisor to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the village of Webster for the evaluation, basis of design, opinion of cost, and technical memo to relocate town's effluent salmon point. As a condition of the village obtaining their own speedies permit, this is directed by the New York State DEC. The village of Webster will fully reimburse the town for any costs incurred.
Second.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
And I would also move to authorize the town supervisor to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the village of Webster for operation, repairs, and maintenance as it relates to the village outfall pipe and the combined town-village outfall.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. Number 14, next one up is kind of a housekeeping annual event. I know Dennis, Police Chief Dennis is there, but Paul, you can speak to this,
Yeah,
right?
the town provides school resource officers, police officers to the Webster Central School District. With the agreement, we bill them based on an hourly rate, and it takes into account their employee benefits, and we bill them twice a year, in January and July.
So I'd make a motion for the town supervisor to sign an intermunicipal agreement for the school resources officers for the 2023 and 2024 school year.
Second?
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Detelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Third?
Aye. And just as a sidebar on that, school resource officers, during the summer months when school is not in session, they are brought back to help on road patrol. Patty Cataldi is the liaison to the police department. She and I have had several meetings actually in the last couple of weeks with the police leadership, Captain Reed and Police Chief Holmeyer, because of the recent rash countywide that Michelle brought up. And there is a plan in place, there's a task force. Did you see the press conference last Wednesday?
No, I didn't.
The press conference at the sheriff's office described the task force and how they're going to attack this situation as best they can. But they made it very clear, and Dennis Kohlmeyer spoke at that press conference at 3 o'clock last Wednesday. And basically, they want to set expectations, because the reality is the police are down there trying to fight this, and it's catch and release. And one of the things, and Councilman Cahill said it on bail reform, but one of the big things is that the age of majority has been moved down from 18 or moved up, 16 to 18. And so now kids under 18 are considered juveniles. And in fact, I don't think this is any confidential information, 2 out of the 5 car thefts last Tuesday in town, chases, crashes, thank God no one got hurt, but the 2 drivers were 15 years old and had ankle bracelets.
Yeah.
This is catch and release.
Right.
And it's a problem that is so multi-tentacled and goes so far up that I appreciate that the police agencies are coalescing to try to fight it down in the trenches. And I hate to use this analogy, but it's what I thought of, is that that's like asking the people that were a squad in Vietnam to do something, 20 soldiers, when the leadership up top was not supporting them. And we know how that worked out in Vietnam, don't we? Maybe a bad analogy, Charlie.
It's an analogy.
There you have it. Can you do it in Latin? Josh, what are we doing on this one?
Yes, so this one is being withdrawn. It turns out that our efforts to search for the easement revealed that it was never filed in the first place, so therefore there is no longer a need to abandon it. There is no drainage swale, and the path has been out there and it's serving no purpose, so we've just confirmed as of today that there is not an easement.
Charlie, is that a non-event then?
Yes.
Can't make a motion on
Nothing
something.
to do.
Okay.
Motion.
Withdrawn. Okay. Makes sense to me. Paul, who talked about this with the absence of chief? I don't want to put that on you.
For number 17?
No, 16. I wouldn't put chief in charge of 17.
I haven't had much to do with that one.
Okay.
I can't give much background on that one.
So this is for Monroe County
Yeah.
to sign an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County for law enforcement records management and authorize the supervisor to sign said IMA, and that's my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Detelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Third?
Aye. Number 17, this is as simple as reading the motion and voting, but I also appreciate, because we had some good stories and facts on the podium tonight. If the town board wants to have some questions or comments on this before a motion is made, by all means, feel free to do so. Jenny?
Well, first of all, I mean, these are not, probably not more, a lot of veterans, and people are really emotional about that. So, well, I just want to hear what my colleagues have to say.
John?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you'd like to read it, maybe we'll help those in the audience.
Bill?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Patty?
I'm okay with it. I know that we're doing our best to get all these things lined up before we actually make any further motions, but I also know that we are up against a deadline for July 28th. We have all kinds of notices that we have to post within a certain amount of time, and therefore we are moving forward with it while working in parallel to obtain those agreements.
Yes, and I mean, I can't stress this enough, and I mean, certainly, everybody in this room, I can't speak for who's watching it or watching it on tape. When words come out of someone's mouth, we were kind of trained as infants and youths that, well, he said it, so it must be true. There was things that were said up here tonight at that podium that are categorically not true. I'm not going to list them all down related to number 17 here, because the process over the next 3 weeks, and it is a process, will vet those things out and explain those in great detail, and the citizens of this community, along with the town board members, will have plenty of opportunities in the next 3 weeks to get educated, to see what this is all about. And I feel comfortable that that process will play out. And it'll play out the way it does in 3 weeks. If we go to vote on the bond resolution and it doesn't happen, well, at least we put our best foot forward of educating the town board members and educating the citizens. But what was said at the podium tonight was the antithesis of education. That was misinformation, and because of the position that person had in this community and knows how it works, that was purposeful misinformation for reasons that I don't quite understand. I'm not a psychologist. So, with that in mind, I make a motion to set a public hearing for July 27th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. right here in the town boardroom to consider the amending of the original bond resolution for the Water Pollution Control Facility Asset Renewal Project and Water Resource Recovery Facility improvements, and advertise that public hearing in the Wednesday, July 12th, 2023 Webster Herald edition.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Feldy?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
And I really hope next Wednesday, Art, I know you're part of the presentation on this.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know if Rick, you are. Paul, I think you're part of the presentation in the town board workshop next Wednesday. Because we're moving it to Wednesday because of the firemen's carnival and parade and all that. But I think, geez, anybody who can watch that, come live, watch the tape of it, look at the PowerPoint that's being produced. Knowledge is power. Get the knowledge. Don't just listen to rumor, conjecture, and all that stuff, because that is not getting educated. That's buying into just this social media world of saying anything.
Supervisor Flaherty, you said 6:30, did you mean 7:30?
I meant 6:30 p.m. We have a 4:30, this is on the 27th,
Right.
which is a workshop day.
Yes.
We have a 4:30 to 6, I think the first budget workshop, from 4:30 to 6.
Okay,
And then at 6:30, we will have the public hearing.
that's fine.
Yep. All right. Okay, next one. I was wondering what this was, and I heard you say, Bill, that this is the old Hidden Creek.
Yep.
Well, that's great. They've been closed for about 6 months?
They closed in February, okay?
Anybody have any questions on this one? I make a motion to waive the New York State Liquor Authority on-premises alcoholic beverages license 30-day notification period requirement for Ridge Terrace Pub LLC located at 1839 Ridge Road.
Second.
Supervisor Clarity?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli?
Aye.
Councilman Allen?
All right, Charlie, I haven't really talked to you about this number 19. It kind of cascades into 20. But I guess everything we've tried to do since May 9th, when Coca-Cola Fairlife made the press release that they were intending to come to Webster, is, to me, I see it as the town leadership is trying to err on the side of caution and move forward in this where we're above reproach. Some of the things we've done, those are nice words. The actions that meet those words are we've engaged the best, or one of the best seeker attorneys in the county, Woods Oviatt, to make sure that the seeker process on that property is done the right way. So along those lines, back on June 1st, after a lot of research, Mary, I know you did the RFP and all that stuff, the board did a resolution and engaged Labella to assist on all projects where our community development and engineering department and building department would need help on design reviews or construction inspections. And that made a lot of sense because we could governor that, and it's a time and materials type thing. If we never need them, we don't have to pay. But over the last couple of weeks, and Charlie, you've been involved with this, and I'm going to go back to being above reproach, we found out before I signed the contract that I was authorized to sign back on June 1st, that there might be a conflict of interest because Labella did some work in the last few months for Haskell. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And Haskell is the engineering firm for Coca-Cola Fairlife. And I think the work they did, Labella did, was specific to this Coca-Cola Fairlife project.
Yes.
We looked at that, and I'm going to go back to that above reproach, err on the side of caution. And Charlie and actually Woods Oviatt, they both looked at it, and you both concurred, you know what, we need to pass on Labella, and
It has nothing to do with their ability.
Nope.
Anything else, and there's no hint of any kind
No.
of venality, anything of that.
And actually, Mary, when you let them know, they were very gracious. They understood. They understood that the gravity, if you want to call it, of the biggest project in Webster in 70 years. And I think they appreciated as professionals that we were taking that approach. They didn't take it as an indictment on them doing anything wrong, which I really appreciated. They're a top-notch professional firm. Now, Mary, who is a top-notch town engineer, was able to go back, kind of look at some of the old paperwork we had done on this, and was it MRB?
MRB.
Yeah. Essentially, they're going to do the same thing that we did 4 or 5 weeks ago, that Labella was going to do, but they don't have any conflict of interest. And they're a fine firm.
Yep.
Whew. There you go. Now, Charlie, I haven't talked to you about this, but erring on the side of caution, I think if we did a resolution back on June 1st to authorize me to sign the Labella, I never did sign the Labella, but doesn't it make sense for us to do this kind of rescission resolution to
I
cancel it?
think for the purpose of transparency, I think it's an excellent idea.
Because I could get hit on the head and go and sign that contract with Labella if we didn't do a rescission, right?
I think it's a good idea.
All right.
I would move that we
Thank you,
rescind
Bill.
signing of agreements with Labella Professional Services related to engineering, site seeker, building reviews, and inspection per Resolution 195 of 2003 from the June 1st, 2023 town board meeting.
Second.
Councilman Allen?
Aye.
Councilwoman DePaoli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Supervisor Cleaver?
Aye.
I offer a resolution for the supervisor to sign a contract not to exceed an agreement value at $35,000 with MRV Group for professional services related to engineering, site seeker, and building review inspection.
Second.
Councilman Ballard?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli? Supervisor Serrano?
Aye. And I like the addition of the 35,000 because it kind of governs this thing so we can look at it after a while and see, is this working for us?
Great.
I do like that.
Last
Well,
but not least,
last but not least,
offer a resolution to declare the following for auction from the Highway Department. A toolbox from pickup truck number 57, tag 5156.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli? Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Supervisor Serrano?
aye. Well, that concludes our meeting tonight. We'll do our round table. I don't even know if I can get over to the phone. Nobody ever called us. But the problem is that's a new phone. I don't know how to use it. So, Art.
Supervisor,
Anything you want to talk about.
anything we want. I think that like that, we were busy, with plans and engineers and things like that, trying to get everything lined up so we can meet Fairlight's schedule and keep everything moving forward. We've been working with Charlie on the IMAs. We were working hard for our residents on Linda Lane and Woodard Road to try to get their sewers approved by New York State Comptroller. It's a busy time, and busy is good.
Rick?
A lot of serious stuff talked about tonight from the residents and from town board, and so I thought I'd lighten it up a little bit. Little story from this young man. He dropped his tooth down the shower, and it was scary. He wasn't going to be able to put it in his pillow, so he wrote to the tooth fairy that I lost my tooth down the shower drain. Could you please find it at the wastewater treatment plant? Signed, Roberta. Well, come to find out, his mother is a civil and environmental engineer, talks about wastewater all the time. And so he knew that that drain water would go down to the wastewater plant, and he wanted the tooth fairy to find it there. So it's pretty good that kid was listening.
Did you put the note on Facebook or something that I saw that Kim Doyle went out to show? Like there was the letter, the actual.
Yeah, the letter was on,
It
it was on LinkedIn.
was on
It was
the
cute.
Wow.
Find it.
We find a lot of things.
Yeah, teeth are tough.
You're still looking, right?
Yeah.
Teeth are a tough one, yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, things are pretty steady in our department. Building is in full swing. The agendas are full. A lot of people are doing projects. And yeah, it's keeping us very busy.
Great.
Yeah, staying busy in the middle of summer activities. We've been working for the county on Lake Road, doing some restoration for them. We're in the middle of our town capital improvements on Shadowwood Lane. The gutters are out on one side. Hopefully, we can report back next week. That'll lead to milling and paving. Tomorrow, we start chip sealing officially. The equipment showed up today. They're a couple days delayed from what we had projected. But we'll start that tomorrow. That'll go on for the next couple weeks, and then a series of sweeping and rolling after that. But right in the full swing. Drainage, we've been out a bunch of places. Ironwood Circle doing a lot of repairs. And drainage crew has been right out straight. So fully in the full swing of summer.
Yeah, as Tom mentioned, we were at Sandbar Park today. It's starting to look more like a park, but just a reminder to the public that it is closed and will remain closed until the end of October. Tom did mention that we're tracking a little ahead of schedule, but just for the general public at this point, you should expect it to stay closed until the end of October, but if we can open it sooner, we will. You'll see the playground is almost in, but please keep your children off of it. And the flood wall, the last pour was today. And then we'll probably be seeing the docks go in next month and some more paving to put the top down on Lake Road. So it's coming along and looking more and more like a park. And I guess I will, do you want me to say about what's happening? Okay. So my last day is July 25th. I'm moving to North Carolina. And,
And we wish you all the best. You're a tremendous value add to this town. You've done a great job.
Tough to leave, we understand.
You
I'm
will
not gonna
be
say goodbye.
missed.
it's Tom's look he's giving me right now.
I know. Yeah, I'll follow that one.
Honorable missionary. Tom and I have the last two department-based budget meetings tomorrow. After that, we'll take a step back, recalculate, see where we're at, and we have about 2 weeks to schedule second meetings with the departments that we feel it would be appropriate with. And then that's followed by the town board televised workshops on the 27th of July and August 3rd. Keep moving forward on that.
Bill?
Just a heads up, on the August 3rd meeting, I will not be in town. I'm out of town. Other than that, the departments were covered.
Okay.
I just want to give a report on the drug take-back that we held out at the sewer department a couple weeks ago. I also want to thank the employees of the sewer department who helped out and made it all possible that it could be held there. We collected 321 pounds of expired and unused medications, and we had 124 cars come through in 4 hours.
Wow.
It was a great partnership with the Webster Health Education Network and the Webster Police Department, the town, and like I said, actually when highlighted Adam Bronson, one of our employees down at the sewer department, because he didn't just make the facility available, he pitched in and was collecting meds and helping out in every way possible. He did a great job, and we're very grateful.
Well, Arce alluded to a number of the things we've been working on in sewer, and I've been working with the rest of the other department heads and the town board on a lot of good stuff, other things going on in town. Just want to remind everybody again that the workshop next week is Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Just to remind,
Wednesday.
so people are aware that it's not.
Wednesday. We will, yes.
It's 5:30?
5:30. Jenny?
Well, anyway, Mary, we wish you the best, okay, thanks for all you do. And also to support your, like as I'm liaison for the museum and the library, and please come out and support your library and come out and support your museum. There's a lot of activities, events going on, so check the website. Karen Buck doing a wonderful job advertising everything, all the events on our website, so check it out. And I did a couple of parades over 4th of July, and it was wonderful. I enjoy it, and thank you so much, Harvey. Our community is the best. Thank you.
Jen?
So, I've got 3 things. First of all, most important is to thank Mary for all you've done for this town. The town residents, you know, they don't see what you do on a daily basis. They see the big picture. But the changes that you have implemented in your department are amazing. And your dedication since you've been here is I'm just so very thankful that you have been with us for the past 2 years, and the changes that you've implemented that impacted every resident of this town, and also that had an impact on this board also. And it's going to be tough to see you leave. I understand from a family standpoint, and you know, I respect what you're doing, but I just want you to know that how much we appreciate, you know, all that you've done for us. And you've done a lot in 2 years. You really have. So the second thing I want to talk about is just to let everybody know that the Fireman's Carnival is July 12th through the 15th. So if you have time, stop down. And the third thing I wanted to just briefly talk about or mention is that, you know, my kids think I'm a little weird because I like to go to movies by myself. And I do that so that, you know, I'm not asked questions through the movie, like, what's this and what's that? And so I go, and I typically get gift cards for my birthday or Father's Day from one or more of my children. So this weekend, I think it was Sunday, I went and watched a movie that had a profound impact on me. And I would encourage everyone to consider going to see this movie. And the movie is called The Sound of Freedom. And it deals with child trafficking throughout the world. And it's very impactful, so just consider seeing that movie.
You do, yes, we will end with you because I just want to make sure, Mary, you will be here on the 20th, right? All I need is a number. We will end with you.
Okay, I just want to mention that I'm working with the clerk's licensing software company to install a module for dog owners to renew their dog licenses online. We did run into a little snag, but we're hoping to work it out. So as soon as it's up and running, I'll let everyone know.
That's great. Well, guess what, gang? That concludes tonight's meeting.
Necessary. Jeez. I said, is it necessary to ban that stupid thing?
No, I wanted to see it. I've heard him numerous times.
You too.
This is the street light arm stanchion. Those are separate. Traffic signals. Yeah.